From the ashes of a fallen empire to the birthplace of the Renaissance, from fragmented city-states to a unified nation that would help shape the modern world, Italy's story is one of the most dramatic and influential in human history. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey through nearly 3 millennia of Italian civilization, exploring how a collection of ancient tribes became the mighty Roman Empire, survived the Dark Ages as competing kingdoms, sparked the greatest cultural revival in Western history, and ultimately emerged as a cornerstone of modern Europe. The story begins not with Romans or Renaissance masters, but with mysterious peoples whose origins still puzzle historians today. During the Paleolithic era, early humans first set foot on the Italian peninsula, but it was the arrival of the Etruscans around the 8th century BC that truly set the stage for Italy's remarkable destiny. These enigmatic people, with their advanced metallurgy, sophisticated art, and complex religious practices, would become the foundation upon which Roman greatness was built. The Etruscans weren't alone on this fertile peninsula. The Latins settled in the central regions, while the fierce Samnites controlled the mountainous areas of the south. The Umbri claimed their territory in the north-central regions, and Celtic tribes made their homes in the far north. Perhaps most significantly, Greek colonists established what they called Magna Graecia across southern Italy and Sicily, bringing with them the philosophical and cultural achievements that would profoundly influence Roman thought. But it was in the hills of central Italy, specifically on 7 hills overlooking the Tiber River, that legend tells us Rome was founded in 753 BC. According to myth, twin brothers Romulus and Remus, raised by a she-wolf, established what would become the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. While the mythological elements capture our imagination, the historical reality is equally fascinating. Rome began as a small city-state ruled by kings, heavily influenced by their Etruscan neighbors, who had taught them the arts of war, governance, and urban planning. The transformation from kingdom to republic in 509 BC marked a pivotal moment not just for Rome, but for the entire Italian peninsula. The Roman Republic, with its complex system of consuls, senators, and citizen assemblies, would spend the next several centuries systematically conquering and absorbing its neighbors. This wasn't merely military conquest. It was a gradual process of integration that created a confederation of Italic peoples, each contributing their unique strengths to an increasingly powerful Roman identity. The genius of Roman expansion lay not just in their military prowess, but in their ability to incorporate conquered peoples into their system. Former enemies became allies, allies became citizens, and citizens became the backbone of an empire that would soon stretch far beyond Italy's borders. By the 3rd century BC, Rome had unified the entire Italian peninsula, setting the stage for conquests that would extend Roman power across Western Europe, Northern Africa, and the Near East. The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire, ushering in an era of unprecedented expansion and cultural achievement. Under emperors like Augustus, Trajan, and Marcus Aurelius, Roman civilization reached heights that wouldn't be matched for over a millennium. Roman law, engineering, architecture, literature, and philosophy spread throughout the known world, creating a cultural foundation that still influences Western civilization today. But even the mightiest empires must eventually face their twilight. The 5th century AD brought barbarian invasions, economic instability, and political chaos that culminated in the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. The last Roman emperor, ironically named Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by Germanic chieftain Odoacer, marking the end of over 1,000 years of Roman dominance and the beginning of Italy's most fragmented period. The collapse of Roman authority didn't mean the end of Italian civilization. It marked the beginning of a completely new chapter. The peninsula fractured into numerous city-states, kingdoms, and regional powers, each developing its own character while maintaining threads of Roman heritage. In the north, cities like Venice and Genoa emerged as powerful maritime republics, their merchants sailing across the Mediterranean and beyond, accumulating vast wealth through trade networks that connected Europe with Asia and Africa. Venice, built on a collection of islands in a lagoon, became particularly remarkable. Protected by water from land-based armies, the Venetians developed a unique republican system and naval expertise that made them masters of Mediterranean commerce. Their doges ruled over a commercial empire that stretched from the Adriatic to the Black Sea, while Genoa dominated western Mediterranean trade routes, producing explorers like Christopher Columbus, who would reshape the world map. Central Italy remained under the control of the Papal States, where the Pope wielded both spiritual and temporal authority. This created a unique situation where religious and political power intersected, making the Italian peninsula a crucial battleground for medieval European politics. Meanwhile, southern Italy and Sicily experienced a succession of foreign rulers: Byzantines, Arabs, Normans, Spanish, and Bourbons, each leaving their mark on the region's culture, architecture, and social structure. This fragmentation might seem like a weakness, but it actually created the conditions for one of history's greatest cultural explosions. The Italian Renaissance of the 14th through 16th centuries didn't emerge from a unified nation, but from the competition between wealthy city-states, each trying to outdo the others in artistic patronage and intellectual achievement. Florence under the Medici, Venice with its commercial wealth, and the Papal States with their religious authority created an environment where art, science, and human achievement could flourish. The Renaissance began in Florence with figures like Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio revolutionizing literature, while artists like Giotto pioneered new techniques in painting. But it was the explosive creativity of the High Renaissance that truly changed the world. Leonardo da Vinci embodied the Renaissance ideal of the universal genius, excelling in art, science, engineering, and invention. Michelangelo's sculptures and paintings reached heights of human expression that still leave viewers speechless. Raphael perfected the classical ideals of beauty and harmony that would influence art for centuries. These weren't just Italian achievements. They were human achievements that spread throughout Europe, sparking a renewed interest in classical learning, scientific investigation, and artistic expression. The printing press, invented in Germany but perfected in Italy, spread Renaissance ideas faster than ever before possible. Italian universities led the world in anatomy, astronomy, and natural philosophy, while Italian explorers like Amerigo Vespucci helped Europeans understand the true scope of the New World. Yet for all their cultural achievements, the Italian states remained politically fragmented and vulnerable to foreign intervention. The 16th through 18th centuries saw Spain, France, and Austria treating Italy as a battleground for their European ambitions. The peninsula became a collection of dependencies rather than an independent force, even as Italian culture continued to influence European thought and artistic expression. The winds of change that swept through Europe in the late 18th and early 19th centuries finally reached Italy with the French Revolution and Napoleon's campaigns. Napoleon's conquest of Italy between 1796 and 1814 paradoxically laid the groundwork for eventual unification by demolishing many of the old feudal structures and introducing modern administrative systems. More importantly, it sparked a new sense of Italian national identity that had been dormant for over a millennium. The Risorgimento, or resurgence, became the driving force behind Italian unification. Led by visionary figures like Giuseppe Mazzini, who provided the intellectual framework for Italian nationalism, Giuseppe Garibaldi, whose military genius and charismatic leadership inspired a generation of patriots, and Count Camillo de Cavour, whose diplomatic skills navigated the complex European political landscape, the movement toward unification gained unstoppable momentum. The House of Savoy, rulers of the Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont, emerged as the standard-bearers of Italian unification. King Victor Emmanuel II and his brilliant Prime Minister Cavour skillfully played European powers against each other, while Garibaldi's famous expedition of the Thousand conquered Sicily and southern Italy in one of history's most audacious military campaigns. By 1861, though most of Italy was unified under the new Kingdom of Italy, The process wouldn't be complete until Rome itself was captured in 1870, and Trento and Trieste were acquired after World War I. The newly unified Italy faced enormous challenges. The industrial north and the agricultural south were virtually different countries, with different dialects, economic systems, and social structures. Southern Italy remained largely feudal and impoverished, creating the conditions for massive emigration that would see millions of Italians seek new lives in the Americas, Australia, and other parts of Europe. This Italian diaspora spread Italian culture worldwide, while simultaneously draining the homeland of human resources. Despite these challenges, Italy quickly modernized and even built a modest colonial empire in Africa, gaining control over Eritrea, Somalia, and eventually Libya. The country's participation in World War I, though costly in human terms, completed the unification process by bringing the unredeemed territories of Trentino and Trieste into the Italian state. Italy's sacrifices earned it a permanent seat on the League of Nations Executive Council, marking its emergence as a recognized European power. However, the aftermath of World War I brought new challenges that would test Italy's young democracy to its breaking point. The partial infringement of the Treaty of London, which had promised Italy additional territories in exchange for joining the war, created a sense of mutilated victory among radical nationalists. Economic instability, social unrest, and political fragmentation created the perfect conditions for the rise of Benito Mussolini's fascist movement. Mussolini's march on Rome in 1922 marked the beginning of over 20 years of fascist dictatorship that would ultimately lead Italy into World War II as part of the Axis powers. The fascist period saw initial modernization and infrastructure development, but also the suppression of democratic institutions, the persecution of minorities, and ultimately the catastrophic decision to align with Nazi Germany. Italy's experience in World War II proved disastrous. Military defeats in Africa and the Balkans, followed by the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943, led to Mussolini's fall and Italy's surrender to the Allies. However, Nazi Germany occupied much of the country, leading to a brutal period of resistance warfare that divided Italian against Italian. The Italian resistance movement, supported by Allied forces, gradually liberated the country, but not before paying an enormous price in human lives and physical destruction. The death of Mussolini in April 1945 and the end of German occupation marked the beginning of Italy's democratic renaissance. The 1946 institutional referendum abolished the monarchy and established the Italian Republic, marking a definitive break with the past and the beginning of a new chapter in Italian history. The new constitution, adopted in 1948, created a parliamentary democracy based on the principles of human rights, regional autonomy, and social justice. The post-war period brought unprecedented prosperity and social transformation. The Italian economic miracle of the 1950s and 1960s saw the country transform from a largely agricultural society into a modern industrial power. Cities like Milan and Turin became centers of manufacturing and design, while Rome emerged as a major center of government and culture. Italian companies like Fiat, Olivetti, and later fashion houses like Versace and Prada became global brands, while Italian cinema, led by directors like Federico Fellini and Michelangelo Antonioni, gained international recognition. Perhaps most significantly, Italy became one of the founding members of the European Union through the Treaty of Rome in 1957, helping to create the framework for European integration that has maintained peace and prosperity on the continent for over 6 decades. Italy also joined NATO, the Group of Six, later G7, and the G20, establishing itself as a key player in international affairs. From the ancient Etruscans to the modern European Union, Italy's history spans nearly 3 millennia of human achievement, artistic creation, political innovation, and cultural influence. The country that gave the world the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, and countless contributions to art, science, literature, and cuisine continues to shape global culture while preserving its rich heritage. Today's Italy, with its unique blend of ancient traditions and modern innovation, stands as a testament to the enduring power of human creativity and resilience. The story of Italy reminds us that history is not just about dates and battles, but about the continuous human struggle to create meaning, beauty, and progress in the face of constant change. From Roman engineers building roads that still exist today, to Renaissance artists creating masterpieces that still inspire awe, from medieval merchants connecting distant continents to modern designers influencing global fashion, Italians have consistently demonstrated humanity's capacity for greatness. As we look to the future, Italy's past serves as both inspiration and guide, showing us that even in our most divided and challenging moments, the human spirit can create something beautiful, lasting, and transformative.